Hi, welcome back. So what is state variable in Solidity? Now, like any other high-level programming language, even Solidity has basically two types of variable. One will be the global variable, which is the state variable, and then there are local variables as well. However, in case of Solidity, the state variables are of significant importance. And the reason for that is that these variables are stored permanently into the blockchain. So every time we are declaring a state variable, it is important that we assess it because it is going to cost us since these are cost intensive. So let's see an example of a state variable and then we'll also go through different local variables in Solidity. Now, this is a simple contract. So what we have done is we have declared a uh, one state variable called as a number. So now state variable in Solidity can be initialized or updated through basically three ways. One is that I go ahead and I say initialize it by some number, or I do it through a constructor. Now constructor is special functions which get executed when the contract is created. And the second one would be we create our own setter methods, right? So in this case, I will go ahead and I will create a setter method. Also, since we have declared these state variable as public, uh, they comes up with default getter method for it. So let me create a setter for this. So setter, and what is this function is going to be a public function. And what we'll do is we'll just set this number to 10. Right, so now if I go about and say deploy this contract, right, so you see we have two methods available. One is the setter and one is the number. Now in Solidity there is no concept of none and null, right? So now that number has not been initialized, and if I try to get what exactly the number possesses right now, it's basically 0. So this is the default value for the any int or uint, especially uint types, right? So now I will do the setter transaction. So I did a setter transaction. Now I will check the number and you get that as done, right? So now what about the local variable and how does local variable works in Solidity? So what I will do is I will basically create a uh, another state variable which will be called as in name. So what we'll be doing is we're creating another setter method of updating the name in that state variable, right? So we'll have simple function set name, right? So this name will be taking an argument. So we'll say string underscore name. Now this again is going to be a public function, right? Now since we are updating the state variable, so we do not have to categorize this function either as a view or a pure, but it will have a return time. So we'll update and also will return the latest value that the state variable possesses. So in this case, which is the name. So we'll have the returns, right? So it will return what? It will return a string, and we'll have to define its type, which is the memory, right? So now I can go ahead and I can do like something like name is equal to underscore name, right? And I can return, since we have defined a return tag, so I will do just a return and it will return a name, right? However, if you see we are getting a warning from the compiler. What it says is that whatever the argument that the function is taking, it must be either a memory or a call data for all the parameters in the function. Now, what is memory and the call data? Now, memory and call data, and in fact, as well as storage as well, these are keywords that define the data area where a variable is stored, right? So in this case, the key difference between a memory and a call data is that memories are basically mutable, whereas call data, as per the Solidity doc, they suggest that these are immutable and should only be used as an external parameter in a function. So now suppose if I define this as a memory, right? So I have defined this string memory name and then this type is string memory. So I'm getting two, okay. So now since name is not initialized, what I will do is like name, and I will set this name as say Pushkar, right? So, and then we have type string is not implicitly converted to uint. Okay, so I have defined this as uint, so I will convert it to name, right? So, which is string small s. Yeah, So now the error is gone. So let's see, let's compile and let's deploy and let's see what happens, right? So when I deploy it, so you see when we have used this set name method, now it takes the argument. So now in this case, I may be, setting. So for example, first if we do the get, it does not get anything because nothing is set in this state variable. Now I can set the set name. So once I do the set name, the transaction is complete, and I do get name, it comes as Pushkar. The reason being that we had declared whatever the string memory that we passed in, those are mutable. So I have mutated the argument that was sent, which is in this case Rahul, has now been changed to Pushkar. Internally, we did that change. However, what happens if I convert that to a call data? Now, suppose if I convert this memory to a call data, right? So once I have converted this call data, you see the compiler throws error and it says that the literal type string Pushkar is not implicitly convertible to the expected type string call data, which means that the argument that I am passing, I cannot update it or I cannot mutate it. So in this case, the local variable underscore name cannot be updated as Pushkar. So whatever the value that we send, that is the exact value that will get set into the state variable. So let me redeploy this and let's analyze now. So now once I'm sending Pushkar here, now I did the transaction and I do the getter. So you see the Pushkar has been updated. So the key difference between the call data and the memory is that they both are for the local storage, but one is mutable and the other one is not. So that's it for the state variable. In the next video, we'll learn about arrays and other important data types in Solidity.